Hey guys, you want to outline your novel, but not just any novel? You want to outline your novel like a boss? Then stick around in this video. Now you're probably wondering, why would I take any advice from this girl who's probably never written a novel? Incorrect. I have a novel called Faded Flame coming out October 21st. Listen, writing an outline is hard. First, I just want to clarify that I am not a professional. This is not traditionally published. This is self-published. And I also want to clarify that this is my opinion and it's up to you whether you want to take it or not. Let's get going. So the first thing I want to mention out of my two main points before I get straight into the outline. First, are you a planner or a pantser? Now, if you don't know what that is, a planner is someone who outlines every little detail of the novel before they actually start writing it. But a pantser is more of just someone who just starts writing it and doesn't really do any outlines. Now, if you are a planner, great, stick around, this video is for you. The second thing I want to say before we actually get into the outline is, do you have a general word count that you would like for this book? It's better to have a ballpark how many words you would like. Now I'm gonna get straight into this video, okay? It's gonna be very quick because I know you guys have a very short attention span. I'm gonna get straight into it. I will be talking about the 3-act structure and 8 sequence. I had mentioned it before if you see my last long video. If you haven't, I mentioned this. What I did was I usually just jotted down the main idea and then wrote into it. Very big mistake. You want to use something called a 3-act, 3-sequence outline. If you want to know more about that, I could put that in another video. Now, see? I mentioned it before. The first thing I want to say is when you read a book, normally you're jumped into the life of the character and how they live that normal life until something happens. Something that gets the ball going. That is usually called the opening act. Now, the opening act is a part of the first act structure. The first act is usually the first 25% of your novel. So you really want to make sure you grab the reader's attention. With mine, Scarlett witnesses something and she's just so upset about it and she really wants the world in this to change and become a better world. Like I said, you really want to grab reader's attention. Like you guys, our attention span is short, so we got to make sure we keep the readers, flipping. With this, after the opening act, the incident, their new life starts to pick up. After that opening act of, ooh, okay, something needs to happen here. This is when the incident kicks off with whether or not, so she has to marry someone. And in this moment, she's like, do I have to marry him? My life look like? What would anything look like? Well, she really has to decide whether or not she really wants to get involved in marrying him, what will come with it, or living her life as a boxer and giving money to charity. Then there's something called the key event. The key event is something that pushes them to make their decision. With Scarlett, in hers, basically she is doing her boxing event and she's seeing this sign. Now in my book, I do want to clarify that there is a godly figure called Eternal Flame. Basically, the Eternal Flame gave her a little sign, no, you should choose to marry Onyx. Now she's like, okay, fine, I'll just believe it, I'll follow it, we'll do it, I'll marry him. She makes that decision, that's when it goes into this is when she knows that she is deciding to actually marry Onyx. This is when your character steps into the unknown to face the world and to change their life. Into the second act. Now, the second act is the 50% of your novel. 2 this is usually the 50%. This is the heart of your book. This is when everything really picks up. When there's the climax, which basically is when you look at a mountain and it goes like this, then things really start to be like, oh my gosh, okay. Like the readers are like, oh my gosh, like things are picking up, things are changing. You remember when I said that there's a first plot point, and that's when basically something happens, and this reminds us of the main character's strengths and what's going on. Now we're going to go into the midpoint, which is basically the plot twist. Something happens. Oh my gosh, something picks up. This is when things start to go down. This either means something is revealed or something backs up and pushes their path even further back. Then this is when we hit the second plot point, which shows us how much of a risk the character is putting in. What is happening in her life? Why is it a risk in the first place? When she is going to go marry Onyx, she has to travel really, really far, and she ends up finding something. When she asks her fiance, he starts to get a little nervous, I would say. You would have to read the book to really understand. Basically, he starts to freak out, and she's like, oh, okay, why are you freaking out in the first place? Then she starts to dig deep into these rings, and she discovers a prophecy behind all this. Once you get to this second point, because Scarlet digs herself deep into the rabbit hole, she basically realized that, wait, what am I doing? All this is so much for me. I shouldn't be doing this. Maybe I should go back to boxing. And she feels so lost and confused. This is when the third act structure comes in, and this is very important, guys. Remember how I said that in the second plot point, the character Scarlet, she felt lost and confused. So your character has to be like, what is the point in all this? Why am I doing it? Until you get to the climax. And the climax is when your character finds a new determination to be like, screw it, I'm doing this, let's get this over with, let's see what's going on. In the 3-act structure, we have the first act, which is 25%, the second act, which is 50%, and then the third act, which is the last 25%. Now, this is the final countdown in the act. Now, this gives your readers, okay, this gives your readers a lot of information, and this really is like, okay, this is when it all goes down. The greatest battle that you've done. Or this has to be the greatest love confession that you're gonna do. At this moment, they have to make that big choice that defines who they truly are. This is the point where your readers are gonna read your book. Then to the falling act. The falling act is making sure that every loose end comes together and is tied. When the conquest is relieved, when it's done, when it's finished. This is when the final act is done. This is when that big battle is finished. Now, you're probably wondering what happens in those last 5 or last chapter alone. Then we have the final image. This is the last part, guys. The last part of the outlining. If you like a chapter by chapter outline, just leave a comment down below saying, yes, please. This is when the story ends, okay? But not the same way that it began, but sometimes. But if you're writing a series, this is when the cliffhanger comes in. My book, readers have said that my cliffhanger is off the hook. Like, they are already looking forward to book 2, and again, that feels so great to hear. This outline, you really want to make sure that it grabs the readers. You really want to make sure that if I'm reading a romance novel, I want to know how their lives has changed, how being in that relationship really affected them. So in the short end of it all, the first act really would ask the question. The second act explains the question and really gives more information, while the third act concludes it and answers the question. If you have gotten so far in this video, please give it a like and a follow and subscribe. And you would see more writing content on Mondays and reading content on Fridays. This coming Friday, I will be releasing a reading vlog of me reading my first ever Stephen King book. Not the book, not this one, but there's another book. I'll be leaving an image right here of the book, so you guys could stick around and be ready for that. All right, guys. See you next week.